in the world are we doing here? What is the meaning of it all? To fall in love, to make a life that's calm and stable, or just to find a place where I belong. What in the world am I looking for? What is the peace that I can find? This longing for I can't ignore, but am I able to see the good and taste it on my tongue? All that I know, all that I see, all that I feel inside of me, all that I've done, all that I've tried, there must be more to this beautiful life. Well, I go to the water to find innocence, breathe deep the air to fill my lungs, and beauty sings these songs to me. Every note I follow, find out where the voice is coming from. All that I know, all that I see, all that I feel inside of me, all that I've done, all that I've tried, there must be more to this beautiful life. Oh, and I can't be satisfied. Oh, this well has long been dry. Oh, what does it cost to find a home for what's been lost? Well, maybe I'm a part of something that's bigger than me. Like I'm a page in a book, in a library, and inside my heart there's a dying part that's always searching, 'cause I know that there's a place where I belong. All that I know, all that I see, all that I feel inside of me, all that I've done, all that I've tried,
So 1 out of 6 households in the state of Minnesota is impacted by the cycle of incarceration. And that's a lot. People don't often think about that. 63% of those that exit one of our jails or prisons in this state will eventually return because of a lack of supportive services when they come back into the community. That is the basis of why Next Chapter is here. That is why we started, and that's why we continue to exist. And Next Chapter Ministries is a local organization here in Rochester, Minnesota that serves families and individuals that are impacted by the cycle of incarceration. The most important thing about Next Chapter is the relationships. Life transformation is not a two-step process. When folks come to us and say, I want to be a part of Next Chapter, I want to be discipled, it's lifelong. It's a commitment. It is a part of a family. And there is no greater example of that than Theodore James Fitzgerald.
So my name is Theodore James Fitzgerald. I've been incarcerated since I was a teenager. The relationships I built with people, it's like tremendous. Like I can't describe the joy in my heart. And it's just a wonderful feeling. Like I get to, come into an environment where I can be truly honest with who I'm trying to be as a person, as a father, as a friend. I mean, I have such a passion in my heart. My girls, they get to see their dad shine in a different light that they never have. I mean, the legacy Next Chapter is leaving for me that I get to leave to whoever I impact on a daily basis. It's just a wonderful feeling. I'm just blessed to be here, and I'm just grateful, extremely.
Honestly, what I want you to know about him is he brings so much joy into our lives. So he is an example of, yes, personal responsibility for the hurt that you've done in your community and in your family is important. And yes, you are impacted by the story that you bring to us that you had no part in. And joy is still possible. And Theodore brings so much joy to our lives. It isn't like he was this, he was in the dark, and now he is in the light. It is a journey. And he has said, I want to build a different legacy for my children than what was built for me. And I don't know what comes next for TJ, but I know that we've committed to walking through it with him. And I know that right now he is singing with a joy in his heart, and we are going to celebrate those moments with him, but we are also going to walk through the really hard valleys with him too. So the single best thing that you can do to be involved here is to donate. Next Chapter has committed to being a Christ-centered organization. Because of that, we are not eligible for a lot of funding that many other organizations are. So donate. We have over 100 volunteer hours every month that helps make this work. Relationships are important, and there is a lot that goes into them. If you have a skill set, if you feel called to this ministry, we have a place for you. We believe everybody was born with a song in their heart. And that song comes from hope in Jesus Christ. That's why we're here, to bring back a sense of joy. No matter what you have done and no matter what has been done to you, you are born with a song in your heart.
While TJ is not able to be here tonight, he has given me the permission to tell a little bit of his experience. Like many Next Chapter participants, he entered into the incarceration cycle as a child and has not been able to break free from the grip of that system. Since this video was recorded, TJ has moved on to another chapter of his life for now. With that being said, TJ still has hope, and we still have hope for TJ. We know his story isn't over, and neither is our relationship with him. I know personally how difficult the cycle of incarceration is, as I myself was born into a family where that cycle had begun generations earlier. I myself entered into it as a child at the age of 14 and spent the next almost 30 years living in it. When we describe the cycle of incarceration as brutal, I will tell you what makes it so. It wasn't only me that was feeling the effect of that negative grasp, but if you can, Try to imagine how it affected the people who actually did care about me. In my time during those 30 years or so, my parents suffered, my sister suffered, and anyone who loved and cared about me suffered. And as embarrassing and shameful as it is to admit, my children also had to endure their father making choices that put them below my so-called life I was living. So many nights, my kids would go to bed wondering where Dad was and would he be there in the morning. Sadly, a lot of the mornings, I wasn't there neither. My family also had to go through endless nights of wondering if I was alive or not. Numerous times, they received phone calls from the hospital telling them that if they wanted to see their son alive, they would need to get to the intensive care unit as soon as possible because I was probably not going to make it through the night due to several overdoses. One time after an overdose and being in a coma for 3 days, I woke up angry at all my family who had been sitting by my side in my hospital room for 3 days praying for me to wake up. And when I did, all I wanted was money to get more drugs and alcohol. I continued to try to move around and run from my problems, but wherever I ran to, there I was, screwing up again, often waking up in jail. This cycle began to come to an end when I was arrested in 2015 on several charges of drug sales in 2 different counties. I thought my life was over. I had a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old daughter who I thought would have to visit their dad in prison for like the next 12 to 14 years. But God, let me just say that again. But God, He had different plans for me. As I sat in jail, wondering how I allowed myself to end up in this predicament, never in a million years did I ever think this is how my life would end up. As I talked to myself, I felt sorry for myself. I felt sorry for my kids. I felt sorry for my parents and my sister. And I felt really sorry for the community as a whole. On the night of July 15th, 2015, God finally had me in a spot where I had to seek something outside of me and bigger than me. Somehow, I was reading in the book of John in chapter 3, verse 20, where it says that all who do evil hate the light and refuse to go near it, for their sins will be exposed. And at that moment, something happened. My whole life, it flashed in front of my eyes, going back to getting caught smoking cigarettes in 3rd grade in school. And from that point on, until the point as I sat there in that jail cell at the age of 39, realizing everything I did in that time was done in the darkness. It was like the veil was lifted. The Bible came to life. Jesus became real. And living in a new way was how I was going to live. I went to court, and I admitted my wrongdoings, and I was honest about the life I had been living. By the grace of God, through this judge, I was allowed to enter into a long-term Christ-centered treatment program where I continued to surrender to God's will and be led by His Spirit. Amazing things started to happen in my life. My over 30 years of addiction was gone, like in an instant. I've been sober for over 5 years. I've had the opportunity to work as a staff at the treatment facility I went through, and here now at Next Chapter as a site director, working alongside other guys who have lived a similar life to what I have gone through. I get to be part of God's work here at Next Chapter, where we restore men, women, and children to God, family, and community. The neat part about Next Chapter is that we don't expect perfection. And we know guys are going to stumble, but guess what? We are right there, ready to help them back on their feet and walking again. My hope for any participant of Next Chapter is that they can come to see themselves as Christ sees them. And that's where the heart change comes in. Knowing that you are loved regardless of past or future mess-ups. Once you can realize it isn't the things that we do that make us amazing, it's our Creator that inevitably makes us special because of His greatness. This is what I want for TJ, and this is what I want for all the participants at Next Chapter. Finding freedom in Christ, that's what makes it possible to be free, no matter where you are. At Next Chapter, we focus on relationships. Participants are considered family only while they reside with us at one of the houses or in one of the studies. It's a lifelong relationship that we work hard to let men, women, teens, and their families know that no matter how good life is or how hard life is, we want to be part of it, to celebrate the joy as well as be there for the hard times. Mistakes are going to be made, and that's what I believe sets us apart. We don't give up on people because God doesn't give up on people either. He certainly did not with me. So thank you all for being here tonight in support of Next Chapter and support of families who aren't ready to give up. Thank you.
My name is Jessica, and I am the Women's Site Director for Next Chapter Ministries. I have the honor tonight of introducing one of our participants for Women's Ministry. Valerie, who has been a part of Next Chapter for the past 2 years, is a true reflection of what restoration through the gospel looks like. It's a process. She is growing in her faith through discipleship at Next Chapter's Lighthouse. She is furthering her education at RCTC for victim advocacy. She is working on herself at Celebrate Recovery, as well as being our assimilation coach. Part of her giving back is to testify at the state level for supportive services for mothers who struggle with addiction. Val is serving in her community at the Jeremiah program and learning how to be the mother she wants to be through the support from Together for Good. With her tonight is Al. Al is a resident of Next Chapter's discipleship home. He will be celebrating the completion of his covenant next month. Al's vulnerability, shining smile, and contagious laugh are a delight to have around. It has been refreshing to hear Al humbly share about the ways that God has continued to mold and shape his life. Seeing Al with his daughter Grace has reminded us of the important and beautiful role that fatherhood plays in the lives of men. Al and Valerie have been through both ups and downs together, including parenting their 4-year-old daughter Grace through the cycles of incarceration and treatment. Tonight, they are going to interview each other as they reflect on the past and look forward to the future.
Okay, me and Val wants to thank you for letting us come out and share our story. So, Val, when you look back into our past, are there any defining moments that you can identify now that's God's true faithfulness?
Before I answer this question, I'm going to share our relationship story and how we got to this point. Al and I met in 2012, shortly after I was released from prison in Shakopee, Minnesota. I had just gave birth to my second daughter, Faith. We were introduced through my older brother, and we had become friends. I remember the way Al's charm, humor, and bright big smile had made an impression on me that first time we had met. The following 4 or so years, Al and I dated, lived together, at least when we were both not either incarcerated or in yet another treatment center or institution. By 2015, our drug addiction to methamphetamine, our lifestyle, and the crime that goes with it was truly out of control. At that point, we were homeless, on the run, avoiding warrants, often staying in random houses, basements, and laundry rooms. One of the lowest points in this time that I remember was at a house we were staying at in the middle of winter that had no heat. It was freezing, and Al was trying to keep me warm by holding me in this big brown winter coat. We didn't have any food. I hadn't changed my clothes in days, and the person who was letting us stay didn't have any food either. I remember the three of us splitting a Totino's party pizza and eating cold food straight out of the can. Even in the midst of my delusional thinking and psychosis, I recognized we were in a pretty tough spot when our own drug dealers were bringing us food and toilet paper after seeing us without any for days and weeks. Our daily drug intake was the only thing we were applying any effort to. Our relationships with our family, former friends, or anyone that wasn't contributing to our pursuit of drugs or advancing our lifestyle was minimal or non-existent. I had lost custody of my daughter Faith, had not spoke to my other son Justice or my mom in years, and Al's contact with his family in Miami was minimal. The people in our life who we did consider friends and family are either in prison or have died from overdoses and suicides. There are a few who are still alive. There are two defining moments that I now see as God's faithfulness in our lives that I want to share. The first is in November of 2015. We were living in Austin, Minnesota. We had no place to go, and we were arguing for hours in the middle of the street. I was heavily in psychosis and traumatized from an incident. The incident was where I had almost lost my life the month prior, where I was drugged by two men and tortured with electricity. In the middle of our argument, I was crying out to God to please stop the insanity. I was telling God that I was done, and I was begging God to intervene. This was my first moment in many years of true surrender and admitting a powerlessness over my life and my addiction. Within 24 hours of that heartfelt cry out to God, Al and I were arrested on burglary charges after 2 years of being on the run, and we were getting booked into the Mower County Jail. A month later, after getting released on bond, was my last time using methamphetamine or any mood-altering substances, and I've been completely sober ever since. In this next picture, Al and I were both in treatment, and this was the first time we were sober together. The second defining moment of God's faithfulness I want to share happened recently. So about 2 years ago, for close to a year straight, my everyday prayers, weekly prayer requests, and altar calls always included Al in them. At the time, Al was incarcerated for the third time since I had met him, and we now had a daughter named Grace. When I realized I was pregnant with Grace, my mental health was struggling. And although I was sober, I had a long way to go to be healthy and stable enough to raise a child. The use of drugs is only one piece of the many layers of the story that comes with addiction. I was initially going to adopt Grace out due to my mental health, and with Al being incarcerated and not feeling as if I could raise a child on my own. I ended up deciding against adoption and decided to fight for custody, which involved a year-long battle with child protection, where I ended up getting custody granted to me when Grace was a year old. This was by the same judge who had terminated my parental rights of my other daughter, Faith, and had overseen a criminal case where I eventually ended up in prison years prior. When I got granted custody of Grace, I made a commitment to her that she would not be raised with parents in active addiction, and I have maintained that promise. So my daily prayers for Al were for him to come to know Jesus, for the chains of addiction to be broken, and for him to experience the freedom that I have found throughout my own recovery and faith walk. A big component that contributed for me to have that freedom has been the mentorship, encouragement, love, and support from my mentor, pastor, and friend, Jessica LaFavor. She had first invited me to Bible studies, women's activities, and fellowship at the Lighthouse, which is the women's house at Next Chapter. When Al was due to get released from prison, he had a choice to be released to the streets or to Next Chapter Ministries. And this time, unlike any other time prior, he chose to go to Next Chapter, and God heard my prayers. A few weeks ago, Al and I were on our way to a church to see a friend from our past getting baptized. The reflection moment that Al and I were both sober, safe, working on continuing to build a healthy life for our daughter, with a beautiful array of support systems, in particular with Al being the support of Next Chapter, backing and supporting us was a testament of God's faithfulness. There continue to be bumps in the road. Things do get difficult at times, but I truly believe that with God at the center, a beautiful life with purpose for the three of us, individually and collectively, is now possible. Everything I would hope for in the future, I already have, and it only keeps getting better each and every day. I'm grateful that I'm now able to see our past pain is used for purpose. Our mess is now a message. There is hope, and the hope that I have now is found in Jesus, and that's why I can rest in the peace and contentment of whatever lies ahead in our future. So Al, what has Next Chapter meant to you, and how has Next Chapter been a support to you and your family?
I can honestly say Next Chapter has meant three things to me. First, the restoration of Christ back into my life. From day one, I started the Core Christianity 101 course, which I was able to reaffirm the belief in Christ, enabling me to make God my center point and my guide on how I want to live my life, how I want to treat others, and most of all, where I draw my strength from. Second, home. And when I say home, I mean every sense of the word. The feeling of belonging, respected, valued, safe. These things mean a lot. When you're coming from an incarceration environment, it can be hostile, filled with anxiety and often violent. Living in this condition is not only bad for the mind, but your heart and your soul becomes callous and cold. But to have Next Chapter family where you sit down for dinner, when you say grace, you truly feel grateful. This time means a lot to me. Third, restoration of family. Next Chapter has challenged me to be a better Christian. By being a better Christian, I become a better father, the one my daughter deserves, the man Val deserves. I feel grateful and truly blessed to have someone who's stuck by me because she believes in a better me. You know, we have held each other's hands through trials and tribulation, believing in our love even when no one else did. I have to admit that sometimes I feel that I can't live up to what she needs me to be. But that fear alone reminds me that I'm on the right track as far as badly wanting to be a good Christian man. My hope for the future rests on the fact of the love we have for each other, the altruistic love we have for our daughter. Grace is centered around the love for God. Make no mistakes about it, being an addict, dealing with trauma, is a 24-hour battle. Daily struggle. Not only we strive to be better, but to distance ourselves from where we have been. One of the things that really meant a lot to me during the orientation Next Chapter, one of the first things that was said when we sat down is we're here to build a bond for life, not just some program you complete. That's what separates Next Chapter from any other place I've been or been exposed to. That faith-based approach to ending the cycle of incarceration, addiction, and broken families.
Thank you, everyone, for letting us share our story.
How we doing tonight, guys? My name is Jordan Williams, and I'm an alumni of the discipleship program from 2018. Before Next Chapter, to make a long story short, my life was chaos. I spent at least 10 years addicted to anything I could get my hands on. In and out of treatments, jails, prisons, before finally coming to Next Chapter Ministry in 2018. And I felt God put me there for a reason. Now I'm going on 5 years clean. I have a great job, 3 awesome daughters. I married my beautiful wife, Amanda, who's sitting right over there with the green shirt on. And I'm not sure I'd be here if it wasn't for God and the direction Next Chapter Ministry took me. With that being said, it is my pleasure to introduce our Executive Director, Courtney Dugstad, to the stage to share the impact Next Chapter Ministry has made in my life and over 900 others in the past years, and to invite you to play an active and vital role in participating with us to continue that legacy of impact for years to come. Courtney Dugstad, everybody.
Good evening, and thank you for being here. A little over 7 years ago, I showed up at Next Chapter Ministries to interview for a part-time job in the youth ministry. I got the job. I met the team and volunteers of Next Chapter, maybe even some of you all. And I realized immediately that this organization isn't like anything else I had ever encountered. It became clear to me that it was a family. I think you've heard that word a few times tonight. It was made up of people coming from different environments and bringing a wide range of life experiences with them, but nonetheless, there was a closeness of community that was unparalleled to what I had ever seen before. So today, I want to invite you into the story in a way that maybe you haven't been before or you haven't been in a while. During the next 10 minutes or so, we will be using the LED bracelets, so make sure you have one or both of them on your wrists. You don't have to do anything else. I'm a bit of a data nerd, and we thought it might be interesting to visually see what it looks like in real time. So today, I want to start with the greater picture. As you heard earlier in the video, 1 out of 6 Minnesota households is impacted by the cycle of incarceration. That's a lot. But that's not all. Minnesota as a state incarcerates more people than the countries of France, Great Britain, and Canada combined. Now, you might feel disturbed by some of this, but maybe not entirely connected. Let me offer you this. 1 out of 3 Minnesotans has a criminal record. Oh, me. Still not you? Well, 3 out of 3 of us have criminal histories. Yup, that means all of us. A crime is defined as any illegal activity. So if there is someone in here tonight who has never broken a law, never went a little too fast on the highway, never wound up with a pen in their purse from a dentist waiting room, or never made some really poor choices between the ages of 16 and 24, please stand up so that Ken can immediately turn off your bracelet. No one? Not even the county attorney's office? Probation? Police officers? Pastors? Woody, you just gave the prayer like an hour ago. So now that every single one of us in this room is connected as recovering criminals, let's zoom in a little bit together. Next Chapter is a Christ-centered organization, which means that you cannot be mandated to be here because we have chosen the gospel as the lens from which we see and do everything. So every single participant or family that comes to our women's, men's, or teen ministry has a desire to break the cycle of incarceration for their family. Oftentimes, that means sacrificing even more time away from their family and their children. And all of the time, it means doing something different than has ever been done before. It is not an easy choice to come to Next Chapter. It takes a lot of bravery to say that you want something different but need help getting there. And since we are a local Olmsted County organization, all of our participants are either from or will be rooted in this community right here. So now I think we all might be even more connected than we ever thought. Let's zoom in even further. Tonight, I want to invite you into a deeper look at our mission. Let's start with the what: to build lasting relationships. At any given time, 45% of our residents in our men's discipleship homes have lived with us before. Recently, through a young mom in our teen ministry, we had served 4 generations of one family throughout the years at Next Chapter between our women's, men's, and treehouse ministry. That is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that the mission is working. It is the emphasis on the length and depth of relationship. As author David Powlison said, it is the value placed not on the distance you have covered, the speed you are going, or even how long you've been a Christian, but simply the direction you are headed and the desire to head there. Now let's move on to the who. With people impacted by the cycle of incarceration, our mission is very narrow, but our efforts are very deep. They have to be, because 75% of our residents in the last 2 years have been through 10 or more cycles of incarceration. 80% of our previously incarcerated participants in our adult ministries also have children, most of whom have experienced their mom or dad's incarceration, trying to navigate the system as children. In our Treehouse Teen Ministry, one of our young ladies who has been with us since she was a little girl has graciously allowed us to hold space for that experience through her eyes in a poem in your programs. I strongly encourage you to take time to read it. And lastly, 96% of all participants at Next Chapter Ministries have experienced some form of childhood trauma, often many, and often with heartbreaking results. I have had the honor of holding space for many of these stories in my office over the past few years after we decided that we simply could not serve returning citizens effectively without acknowledging the painful experiences of their past. Unresolved wounds that manifested into substance abuse, criminal thinking and behavior, and an unhealthy view of God, others, and themselves. We had to get to the roots if we wanted to see different fruit growing from the tree. And what we found was that over 80% of our male participants, adults and teens, had experienced emotional neglect and emotional abuse as little boys. The 1-2 punch to a child's identity that not only includes the presence of negative words, but the absence of positive ones. According to ACE's research, it is the most impactful combination of traumatic experiences for young boys and their brain development. We also found that over 80% of our female participants, both adults and teens, had experienced sexual abuse as children. Again, according to ACE's research, this is the most impactful traumatic experience on the development of the brains and identities of young girls. You guys, it is so much bigger than just making better choices, than modifying behaviors. It has to be a heart change, an overhaul of the identity that was given and replaced with the identity that we were created for. So what is the answer? Restoration to God, family, and community through holistic gospel transformation. We understand that the individuals and families that reach out to Next Chapter are complex and have many challenging histories, but they also have many strengths. And it is in this space that Next Chapter lives. It is in this space that we welcome the most resilient men, women, and youth that I have ever met, because they have overcome incredibly difficult odds to get to our doors. And when they do, we hold space for their past and the stories that impacted their lives. We meet the challenges of their present alongside them, and we look forward to the direction of their future and their desires to transform their legacy for their children, no matter how long it takes. And we do it all by pointing to a sustaining hope and joy that is only found in Jesus Christ. So, does it work? With Minnesota joining our nation in the obsession to put people in prison, you would think we would be better at it. But the percentage of people who leave our prison or jail cells and return is over 60%. At Next Chapter, in the past 2 years, for those who have completed our discipleship program, our recidivism rate for new crimes was 0. Yes, please cheer for that. 100% of our participants surveyed in the last 2 years, whether they completed their residential covenants or remained faithful in staying connected to our women's or treehouse ministries, still reported that during their time at Next Chapter, they experienced growth in restoration to God, family, and community as a result of being a part of the Next Chapter family. Next Chapter has been here in this community for 20 years. And with your help tonight, we are not going anywhere. So tonight, I ask you to say yes to joining us to that, to say yes to TJ, to say yes to Al and Valerie and Grace, and even to say yes to those that we have not met yet, who are still sitting in our prisons and jails waiting for the hope of a better future and to give to Next Chapter. I know that these are challenging times, but now more than ever, we need you. And I want you to know that the hope I have found during these times is that every single dollar you give makes an immediate and direct impact. It goes directly into our capacity to serve families right now in this community. Because we have chosen to remain Christ-centered, we have given up the ability to receive funding from many sources. And yet, for 20
years, because of you all, we have finished every year making our budget. Tonight, I'm asking you to give a one-time gift. Whatever you are able, we are so grateful. But I am also asking you to consider giving an ongoing monthly gift of $50. If 150 people tonight pledge to give $50 or more a month to Next Chapter, we will raise $90,000 a year right here in this room. That is almost 1/5 of our budget. For perspective, $50 a month is $11.53 a week, or $1.64 a day. So for $1.64 a day, you could make a lasting impact on a family right here in your own community. If you already give monthly, thank you, and would you prayerfully consider increasing your monthly gift by $50? In your programs, you guys will find a pledge card, and in the next few minutes, you can fill it out and leave it in the envelope at the table, or you can follow the instructions on the card and give right now online by scanning the QR code. Tommy has made it very easy for us. I want to leave you with one last remark as you take time to prayerfully consider. We are, each one of us, on a journey from what we are to what we will be. Let us link arms and march forward together, for we cannot do it alone. Thank you, and may God bless you.
To the volunteers who have helped us make this event happen, thank you so much. And thank you to those volunteers who help us walk out our mission each and every day at Next Chapter. To the board of directors, thank you. To the staff, Josh, Annie, Jessica, thank you so much. And though you're probably freaking out because I've derived from the script, Courtney, thank you so much. We'd like to thank you. You have stood on the shoulders of those before and used your unique skill sets to lead us through a very challenging year with courage, love, passion, and perseverance. Your love and commitment to those impacted by incarceration is infectious and fuels the spirits of all you meet. And though you never ask for this, we say thank you. Give her an applause. As a reminder, the silent auction will close tomorrow at 12 p.m. Please leave your completed pledge cards on the table for us to collect, and we'll be in touch with you soon to follow up. If you've already pledged or donated online, thank you. We are grateful for your continued support and partnership in our mission to build lasting relationships with those impacted by incarceration, restoring them to God, family, and community through holistic gospel transformation. In my 6 years at Next Chapter Ministries, I've had the privilege of hearing many residents' stories. To close the evening, I would like to share a song that expresses a portion of the journey of Next Chapter participants, the struggles, the questions, as well as the hope that invades the challenges through the faithfulness of God.
Slipping away, slipping away to the night. I ran out of places. Yeah, I'm all out of places to hide, and I feel like I'm going under. And this just might be the end of my road. How many times I have to fall to get it right? And how many times do I need to say I need you? And how many times do I have to fall to get it right? And how many times do I need to say I need you? I feel like I'm losing my faith, like I'm losing my faith in this fight tonight, and I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to make it right, and I feel like I'm going under, and this just might be the end of my road. How many times do I have to fall to get it right? How many times do I need to say I need you? How many times do I have to fall to get it right? How many times do I need to say I need you? How many times when I fall, you're there right by my side? And how many times you are faithful when I need you?
Thank you. Just a quick reminder, please do leave your bracelets at the table. And thank you so much for being here this evening. Your support is transforming lives. God bless and have a great evening.